What a song to start on. Oh my lord. I was I got a little playlist on shuffle, but that was a little bit loud. Hello ladies and gents. Welcome to the first episode of the Osu Coffee Hour. I'll be your host for today. A happy stick. If you're unfamiliar with me myself, I am a long-term community member. I've been around for an embarrassing amount of nearly 9 years. I've played a ton. For the past few years, I started streaming on Twitch, and over time that evolved into full-time streaming on Twitch. And I love Osu with all my heart, as well as its community, and over the years I've started to become more and more involved in a lot of community efforts. And from tournaments to other stuff to now the Osu Coffee Hour. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We're very excited. It's been a while in the works. I'd say since Anime Expo. If you're unfamiliar with Anime Expo, that was a convention in Los Angeles where we celebrated Osu's 10-year anniversary. Peppy himself, as well as a lot of the team, flew out. We had a booth, and it was a blast. And obviously, it was not just work. We also really got to know each other. Got to a lot of talking about, you know, what do we feel are very important projects that maybe would be cool to have around for the future. And this podcast is one of the things that came out of that. It's kind of a platform to bridge the community and the team a little bit more, to have a little bit of an outlet where we can both hear voices from the team side as well as from the community side. So for the first episode, Peppy himself was generous enough to join us at 8 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday. Absolutely incredible that he decided to forego any sense of sleep and join us today. I'm currently repping.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hello, Mr. Peppy. Thank you so much for joining us.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How could I not be doing great repping the wonderful Osu World Cup 2016 mug?
Yep.
This is the moment to pull it up. There we go. So many miles apart, but so close by repping the same kind of merch.
Indeed. I mean, I'm no pro, but I'll use the fucking pro mug.
How's the volume levels, guys? Just let me know if anyone needs an upping or a downing a little bit, because it's always hard to know before we actually get into it. Again, Peppy, thank you so much for being here. Again, it's 8 in the morning for you. I can't imagine you had a lot of sleep.
It's been an early start. Yep. Deving until early hours of the morning. A few hours of sleep.
Oh,
We'll
God.
get by. We've got coffee.
All right, it seems like we're good on the volume sense. All right, well, again, this podcast came into being after, talks that we had at Anime Expo. It was wonderful to get to know you and the team a lot better. Very pleasantly surprised with how open you guys were to discussing a lot of things. Online over the years, I had a little bit of a different impression than I got in real life, so that was definitely really, really awesome. And now a month later, we're here. Talking to each other. So again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, definitely. Like as you say, meeting in real life really changes your perspective on people. I think it's very hard to I don't know. It's hard to get the same level of openness in an online avenue.
Especially when at certain times you might online not represent yourself in the most professional of manners or something akin to that.
Yeah, that. And there's brevity as well. When I have to reply to so many emails, for instance, I'm looking to reply to them very fast, so I don't have the opportunity to, add the gracefulness.
right, because I was extremely surprised. Apparently, you basically try and respond to literally every email that you get, as well as tweet.
That's correct. Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane on any level, regardless. Do you have maybe a short overview of your view of the change? Excuse me, I just burned my tongue with coffee, and I tried to play it off, but it didn't go well.
Oh, no.
Maybe a short overview from your perspective of the community over the years and where we are at right now.
Yeah, that's a big question to tackle. I guess from my perspective, when I started working on OS, I was able to basically see everything that went on in the community, from every map which was created by someone to every forum post in the forums. And yeah, just over the years, the community has grown, and I'm no longer able to keep up with absolutely everything that goes on. I like to have that holistic perspective over everything, but yeah, there comes a point where that's no longer possible. So, you have to start focusing your effort in certain places where you think it matters.
Right, because I was actually super pleasantly surprised when at Anime Expo, whenever I brought something up that to me was pretty obscure, possibly, of stuff that was going on, you definitely seem to be in the loop on most of it. How do you generally upkeep the overview that you do have?
So I get a lot via email. Like, if there's tournaments going on or if anything is going on in the community, people generally reach out to me and, either ask for permission to use artwork or things like that. So that gives me a perspective of what's going on. I do check the forums, not all the forums. Like, I don't really check general discussion and controversial, but I don't really check feature requests at the moment. We'll probably come to that later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general development forum is one which I always follow because there's a lot of interesting things that come up there. Apart from that, there's Reddit, there's in-game chat. I try to get around and just make sure that everyone is happy with what's going on.
Can we get an official confirmation that you do sometimes check the Reddit? Regardless of
yeah,
past.
recently I have been, because it's quite often that something will come up there which we've completely missed and hasn't been mentioned anywhere else, and it's just like, why was this not fixed until now?
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, because I know there's been, Reddit has not always been the most neutral and level-headed place for discussion, but
to be honest, like I don't visit it daily. I try to get there when I can, but a lot of the other team members do visit it a lot more than me, and if something comes up, they will link it, and at that point,
that makes sense. Yeah, it's still calm enough to where you can, don't have to check it every day to not miss anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you give us a little bit of an insight in how the team generally addresses issues and concerns that the community might have, be it for stuff that pops up, or be it for feature implementations that the community as a whole might not necessarily feel too comfortable with? What's generally the process that the team and you personally go through to address?
Yeah. Okay, so personally, I guess the way I did it for a lot of the earlier years was to just check what people are saying and come up with my own solution to it and implement that solution and basically work trial and error. I found it really easy to quickly implement a feature or fix for something, and if it wasn't the perfectly correct fix and there's more issues that are pointed out, at that point we can iterate on it. And to an extent, I think that's what I'm still trying to do, because it means we can make very rapid progress on these issues. At the same time, like, I have tried where possible to reach out, just on Twitter, getting people's feedback on issues when they come up, just reaching directly out to the community, because quite often we do have internal, like, team discussions,
right,
in our private Discord, and they don't end up going anywhere. Like, quite often we'll come up with a heap of good ideas, but at the same time, the implementation cost of those ideas can be, through the roof.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, we'll have really good ideas going forward, but yeah, we just want to get, if there's a problem, we want to get a fix out. So usually I'll try and cut it back and then reach out to the community and see which fix would work the best if there's multiple paths we can take.
Right. One of the things that came to mind, especially for me, that I was most personally invested in, but I know a lot of other people were also invested in back then, was the change from PPV1 to PPV2. Which,
right.
If I'm not mistaken, initially your idea was to make PPV2 a lot more of a dynamic ranking system, where it would very much be based on individual people's performance on a short term. Like, are you doing better than you were last week? And then kind of have that largely influence their placement. But anyway, a lot of people didn't agree with your version of that implementation, and then it seemed like overnight you kind of made a 180 and instead went with Tom94 system, which back then was the TP system. Could you like give us a little bit of elaboration as to how a process and a decision as major as that was actually did go from the back end? Because on the front end, it frequently felt a little bit, at least to me and to other people that I personally talked to, like we weren't heard.
Yeah, that's quite a bit back, isn't it? I don't have that much recollection. What I can say is
I frequently underestimate how fast time moves in that regard.
Yeah. No, like first of all, like what were your concerns with the? Are you saying your voice wasn't heard when the initial implementation went in, or when we switched, or?
It seemed to me, and I think that is a thread that is frequently found in other major decision making, where it does feel like the community's voice is less important than your own personal feelings towards what is to be implemented.
Right. Yeah, I guess it was probably just an uneducated decision on my part for the initial implementation of PPV2, and when Tom did reach out with his algorithm, it was pretty obvious that it was a better solution going forward. At the same time, one of the main driving factors for switching across to Tom's system was that I really didn't have the time to give PP the effort it required.
Right.
The ongoing maintenance and, you know, making sure that the majority of maps worked correctly in the system.
Because that's been a common theme, right? Where regardless of changes that you make, you generally want to make changes that are more easily sustained by the community itself rather than you personally. Yeah. And moving into Osu Laser is also a big part of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, what are some changes that from the team side, or well, let me rephrase it. How long has it been since you guys have really shifted the focus to 90% Osu Laser versus maintaining the current client and current status of the game?
Yeah, so Laser has been kind of a it's changed focus a lot over the years. Like we kind of announced it in 2015 as Us Next, with the initial drop of the new design. It was intended to just be a UI change.
Right.
You know, improving all the rough edges of the UI that came from my original designs back in 2010.
Right.
And it turned into a lot more because partway through our implementation of it, we called it OS Transitional at the time. It was an effort to take the existing OS code base and future-proof it, improve the areas that were causing us to really struggle over getting new features in.
Right.
And yeah, just I think somewhere around Christmas 2016, I was working on this OS Transitional branch, and it just hit me that it's no longer the right direction to go. Like we were just running into all these issues which shouldn't have existed in the first place. And
based on all the old code that was still
pretty
present?
much. Yeah, I think I was trying to add seeking to replays at that time, and there was just so much craft built up in the code over the years that I was like, no, we need to change. We need to change something. And I just reached out to all the other main devs on the team, and said, we need to rewrite this. Are you guys up for it? And
not really,
yeah,
but sure. So it kind of, the initial release date that you guys gave, I think back in 2015, was largely based on a project that currently it is not at all anymore. Like it just morphed into something much
Exactly.
larger. Right. And then obviously the larger the project gets, the more difficult it also becomes to give a release date. What's the current prospects at all that you guys have? Like in very broad terms, not, it'll definitely be released in 2017, but he has to check the secret docs. Don't worry about it.
I'm just hearing that some people are saying my voice is incorrect pitch.
It changes per mic. It's really funky.
Yeah, that's interesting. The sample rate must be set incorrectly. Sorry, ask that question again. We'll continue
Right,
going.
okay, right. I had to grasp back myself. What is the current prospect of where Laser is at? Like in not specific month terms, but kind of a general idea.
Yeah, so we're still aiming for a release this year. That said, it won't be a feature complete release. We likely won't have ranking complete, but we're going to be providing a experience that focusing on multiplayer.
Right.
Introducing some new multiplayer features, which I think are going to make a lot of people want to try Laser, even though it's not the current, replaced client. I don't think we're going to decommission stable this year.
Right, so it would be more equivalent to, say, an alpha release of a game, where not all the features might be implemented yet, but it is just to get a lot of user feedback as well as to get people familiar with the new client.
Yeah, definitely. I'd go more with a beta release because we currently have like alphas released.
Right.
On the GitHub.
Okay.
Repository. Yeah.
And you guys very frequently mention the fact that it's going to be open source. What does that mean to people like me who might not have any sense of a background in coding?
So the fact that it's open source basically means that anyone is able to contribute. That said, that's not the reason we went for open sourcing. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to try and fix my microphone.
No worries.
Does that sound better?
I don't hear a difference.
You hear a difference? Oh wait, that's the wrong device.
Yesterday we were also trying to test mic stuff and he was using the webcam by accident for like 10 minutes. Oh, he went out of the Discord call. There we go.
How's that now?
Oh, that's better, I think.
Yeah?
Oh, that is better.
Yeah, the sample rate was set wrong. It was a mismatch.
There we go. All right.
Okay, so I'm now a bit less high.
It's We're good. Much better. Okay, so
Yeah,
you were
people are like, sorry. People are like, what the fuck is his voice? And I'm like, yeah, my voice. I'm Australian, okay? I didn't think it was pitched up like 10%.
No, we're good.
Okay. So open sourcing. It means anyone can contribute, but that isn't the reason we did it. The open source movement, I've always wanted to see us be completely open source. The reason I hadn't done it until now is because the code quality was so crap that I really didn't want to see that code in the public.
Okay, yeah.
So the main reason is transparency, to be honest. Like there have been times over the years where people have pointed out, security vulnerabilities or wondered, if us is sending their Skype username or something. I've seen Reddit threads.
Right. I remember myself even jumping on the bandwagon in an uninformed way a while ago about, screenshots of like main screen, because that's where people would use their have their hacks open generally.
Right.
Which, ended up being, I think, like a super short-term outdated thing that was no longer at all relevant. Just stuff like that. No, I totally understand.
Yeah, so that was about the point where I'm like, we need to make sure everyone can actually read the code themselves. So if there is anyone out there that has issues with it, they can point out those issues to us. We can make changes.
So then, because it's open source, that means that anyone can look at the code and make, well, not necessarily make changes, of course, without your permission, but can use the code, create something, then show it to you and then you can decide, or the team as a whole can decide if that is something that you actually want to implement. Is that generally the idea behind it?
Yeah, definitely. We already have quite a few people that are contributing. There's some really good contributors. Still, like 10 or 20 people, but as far as developers go, that's a pretty big number.
Right.
People that are both fulfilling existing features and reaching out a bit further and implementing things that they would like to see in the game. On top of that, there's a few teams which are developing their own game modes for the game. We call them rule sets.
Right.
Like the Toho style gameplay, and there's a couple of others.
Yeah, there's a question about that later on as well. All right. What are the current... Oh, sorry.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, on top of just making it open source, we're focusing on making it very modular. So if someone did want to make their own game mode in the game, it's a very simple process. Like I mean, I really wanted to at Anime Expo do a panel on it, but you can create a new game mode in under an hour if you're semi-competent.
If you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Wait, modular meaning?
Meaning you can just slot in a piece of code.
Okay.
So in this case, you can make a rule set and just build the DLL, drag it into the OS folder, into a rule sets folder in the OS directory, or even into the OS window once we get that implemented. And it'll just load into OS. You'll get, an icon up the top of your screen for that new rule set, and it'll just work.
Wow. So that's like a super advanced version of the skin, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, skinning is going to get a lot more interesting as well.
All right, cool. What are the current plans and or focus related to the ranking systems that you guys have? Do you have any word on PP plus, or actually ranking, based on PP value instead of just the score?
Yeah. So I think I did reach out to the PP plus guy, and he made some initial contributions. I haven't heard back about that. Look, going forward with the PP system, personally, like I have my own views on the ranking system, which is that it's very stagnant at the moment, and I don't really have a set solution for that yet. And I mean, we've discussed it amongst the team and not really come to a agreement.
Right.
And, I mean, I've talked with you about it as well, and I don't think we reached agreement. And it's a very it's a very controversial topic, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, as far as if we were going to make the rankings PP ordered, or PP, is that what you were, the direction you were going?
I just dripped coffee all over myself. I will not blame.
I did that earlier as well.
The mug. I will blame my own inadequacy. All right, we're good. Well, initially, PP Plus would not necessarily be a fundamental change to the ranking system, right? It would more be like an quote-unquote upgraded version of the values assigned.
Yep.
So I definitely feel like that is a possibility to look into without necessarily the thought behind it that it's like this humongous change to the core values of the system.
Yeah.
And then just a lot of people obviously want the scoring to be based on PP value rather than score for very obvious reasons, right?
Mm-hmm. That's, I guess, kind of the direction that Score V2 is going. Okay. As well.
So there are definitely... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go.
Quick explanation. He's all the way... He's very far away. Sometimes we're overlapping in speech when we don't intend to. I lost my train of thought now. I got dripped by coffee.
No, okay. So, Score V2 is kind of, well, it doesn't correlate one-to-one to PP values. It's a lot closer to them.
Right.
And we kind of designed it with that in mind. That said, like, we're not going to instantly replace all the scores with Score V2 because it doesn't map one-to-one. You need to actually replay the scores to get a new value.
Right.
There's no way to just convert using some formula.
So for now, there's not necessarily any plans to recalculate all the scores?
I would go with no. I don't want to make a change that big before lasers are released, and we're not going to revisit the ranking system until probably early 2018. That
Right.
said, the current PP system is very flexible. Like, we have open sourced all the code, and if anyone did want to make iterative improvements to the current formula,
Right.
that can be done.
So you guys are very open to the possibility of something like PP Plus if there was a lot of contribution from their side.
Yeah, sure. We would probably work it in a way that's doesn't obliterate the existing system. Tone it down a bit and gradually
Sure.
make changes. That's
Right.
how we. I will mention that, like, Tom did an amazing job on PPv2, but he's currently busy with other ventures, which means that it's not being maintained, and it was always meant to be a maintained system. Personally, I know that I don't have the skill or knowledge of maps to actually make changes to it.
Right.
So yeah, we kind of do. We've always needed someone to make these iterative changes on PPv2 to keep it, up to date with
Right.
the current style of mapping, the direction the community is going.
Right. So it's largely not because of unwillingness from you guys' side to change stuff, but simply because you guys have been so occupied with
Yeah.
laser, as well as it's just not really, the opportunity. It's not necessarily presenting itself as much.
Yeah, it's a lack of skilled resources, like actually having the statistical and mapping gameplay knowledge
Right.
to make competent changes that don't, screw over half some maps we didn't think of.
Yeah. All right. Okay. That's awesome.
But I encourage, like, anyone who is interested in this and actually has the skill to reach out, because we have already open sourced most of the stuff. There's a few private source stuff, but we give it out on request. So yeah, definitely get in touch if that's your thing.
And how would they get in touch? Just shoot you an email or
Just email, yeah.
Okay, the good old way. You mentioned multiplayer being the first thing that's going to come with laser. What are some multiplayer changes that we can most look forward to or can expect?
So I think I've mentioned one before, which is that rooms are going to be infinite size,
Which
so you'll
would be
able to have,
insane. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
No, basically, my thoughts going forward with laser is that while we don't want to get the full ranking system in at the initial release,
Right.
I want to make multiplayer work in a way that not having the ranking isn't going to be detrimental to enjoying the experience. So multiplayer rooms, they're going to be infinite size, and they're going to have a lot of features which I don't really want to reveal just yet, but
Sure.
features which make them act more like a local dynamic ranking board than a multiplayer room.
Right, so you kind of like you would create your own micro ecosystem basically with ranks
Exactly, yeah.
for certain maps and
Yeah, so I think somewhere in between tournaments and the stable rankings, where you have a ranking that's lasted 10 years, somewhere in between there, where it's something that anyone can create, select a set of maps, maybe a playlist, and have people play through them, not necessarily in real time even. We've got a few ideas which are going to really make the multiplayer ecosystem a lot more dynamic.
you're gonna sprout a lot of like 24-hour marathon tournaments and stuff that way. It sounds awesome. I'm really excited, but let's see
Yeah.
what crazy
And
stuff people
I
turn it
think
into.
it also should give people that are running tournaments a few more tools to make it easier to run. I'm sure you'll find some ways to use the new system.
Definitely, yeah. No, I can't say I've given it a thought yet, but just the thought
Yeah.
alone, there's gonna be an infinite amount of things to make it awesome, I'm sure.
Mhm.
All right, yeah. Moving away from laser and into a little bit more controversial territory.
Yeah.
It's been frequently
it on.
mentioned that the race against foul play and people creating hacks is something that would be won by the bad side if nipped in the bud at every occasion, because then they get the chance to like instantly fix their mistakes that they made in the hacks, and then it's just you're running against something that you can't outcompete. To what extent
Yeah.
can players be confident that the current tools that the team has are sufficient to actually fight back in a way that is meaningful?
Okay. I will say that over the years, like, we have lost some of our edge over automatically reacting to cheaters. You know, it's the same cat and mouse game that you see in every online game.
Yeah.
But to keep up with the cheaters who are spending, upwards of 18 hours a day working on their cheats, they're in uni or whatever, and they just have infinite amounts of free time to keep up with that in a defensive manner, as in making code changes or making automatic detections for them. It's very hard to do, and we did hit a point where we just decided to stop doing it for all but the most menial methods,
Right.
and turn to a more reactive solution, which means that whenever you report a score on a ranking, on a beatmaps ranking, or report someone from their profile,
Right.
that gets fed into our system. And when there's enough reports, it's kind of a dynamic system, but when enough reports come in, they'll get bumped up, step by step to different people in our team, and eventually they'll, hit a place where I can see them if they need to be dealt with within 5 minutes or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, we're pretty reactive at the moment, which means we do heavily rely on the community to actually report things that don't look right. I guess I haven't really mentioned too much about my perspective on this, because I don't like to bring up the negative parts of the community too much.
Sure.
But I've always been of the thought that... What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought completely.
Not wanting
Cheaters. Cheaters.
Something about cheaters.
Let's come back to that. I'll remember what I was going to say.
Sure. So, but then that leaves the cases of the more subtle cases. It's so you're saying it's really, really difficult, which makes perfect sense. Like, I doubt anyone blames the Osu team for that. The subtle cases are a little bit more difficult to deal with, and generally will stick around for a bit longer.
No, definitely. I remember what I was going to say now.
Oh. No worries. I know the feeling. We can,
on the tip of my tongue.
We can come back to it. Unless it's sparked right now. No.
I need more coffee.
Yeah.
Too early.
What is your general response to concerns regarding the appeal process, be it from undeserved restrictions or quote unquote undeserved restrictions, to long wait times, to seemingly biased unbans? And given that, what does the actual appeal process look like from the staff side of things?
Yeah. So we have like a few people on the team which are responsible for going through appeals. It's a very manual process right now, and honestly, it's like it's kind of a clusterfuck. Most of the appeals we get are people lying out their ass. So it's very hard to keep a positive attitude. But not only that, it's hard to make decisions when you're basing it off people's word against what you're seeing people reporting,
right?
What you're seeing on the system. I kind of do have plans. We've discussed it, and we're kind of moving in the direction of making the appeal process only something you do if you think you are unfairly treated, and having the unrestriction process, as in for people who have actually done something wrong and they agree they've done something wrong, we're planning on automating the process of getting them back into the game. So after a set period of time, they will just be unrestricted.
Right. So just rewarding the honesty of those players. Like, you say you did something wrong, but yeah. Okay.
Even if someone was to fall through the cracks and they didn't do anything, but we didn't respond to them in time, it means they will get back into the game eventually.
Right, because I can completely imagine the, like you said, clusterfuck that results in a lot of these cases being treated manually, where there's so many players just lying out of their ass, like you said, and then maybe 5% might just be misconstrued cases, but those cases are the cases that are going to be blown up in the community's eyes, as well as maybe another
Definitely.
5% that did do something wrong, but are just making a convincing public argument that they did nothing wrong while they actually did. So,
Yeah, and that's very easy to do. You know, people will jump on those that reach out, you know, on Reddit or wherever.
yeah,
And they say like, "I've been unfairly treated." It's like, "Oh, we have to help this guy," kind of attitude. But
yeah.
you know, you have to consider it from a neutral perspective. Otherwise, you're not getting the full story.
People love rooting for the underdog, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. No, and what I was going to say
Oh,
is that, you know, even if there are cheaters in the ecosystem, my perspective on it is that as long as they're not negatively affecting people's enjoyment of the game, it's not something I'm hugely worried about. Like
right.
I mean, that may sound bad. It may sound like I don't care about there being cheaters, but it's virtually impossible to get rid of foul play in a game. Like as I said before, the development time involved, and you know, there's just theoretical limits as to how far you can take it.
Sure. No, I actually entirely agree. Frequently, people will message me and they're like, "Hey, what do you think of this guy? He might be hacking." And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking to myself, I legitimately don't care. Even if there's like a rank 20 in the world who might be fishy, as long as they're not actually making a huge ripple effect that is negatively
Yep.
affecting everyone involved, then sure, okay, there might be a hacker, but happens.
Yeah.
It's fine. Eventually, they'll make a mistake. You know, eventually they'll disappear. Um, so I largely agree with that. What is a little bit of an overview for the current plans regarding featured artists and just ensuring a copyright-free future for Osu? Because that is a frequent concern that people have.
Yeah. So we have been adding a lot of featured artists recently. Just had one last week, got another one coming this week. We're kind of going as far as we can to get a release schedule set up, just to get a constant feed of new music coming in. I think
Oh,
we
cool.
currently have over 300 tracks under the featured artists section.
Yeah,
And yeah, we're just
I looked
yeah.
at it yesterday, and it was I was surprised by how many people, or how many tracks you actually already have that are licensed.
I think the current thing holding back featured artists is we don't have that much visibility on it for mappers, and we have huge plans with Laser as to how to increase the visibility. You know, in the editor, when you first open it, you're going to get presented with these pre-timed maps, and you'll just be able to jump in and instantly make a map.
Oh, okay, cool. So
But on
literally
top
make
of
it
that,
easier.
we're also planning to kind of feature beat maps that are correctly licensed using featured artists or otherwise. If people are, you know, creating their own music and beat maps along with it, that also counts. But we're looking to give these maps more prominence in, for instance, in the in-game OS Direct, that kind of thing. You know, just to give people more of a reason to try out the featured artist selection.
And then it's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? Because the artists, of course, then also get more exposure. So that's definitely an awesome way to go about it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, speaking of community efforts, there's been, over the past few years, largely a huge increase in the scope and amount of community efforts. Which types of efforts does the team like to see the most and would love to see more from, and which might actually get a little bit more official support going into the future?
Yeah, so I mean, it's amazing some of the things we see from the community, from the, you know, the meetups at various conventions around the place, to the streaming community and the people running tournaments like yourself. There's some great tournaments that are being run out there. You know, some that I really think should be given a lot more exposure than they are. If you are in the situation where you're running one of these events or participating and you don't think it is getting enough exposure, definitely contact me, because we are looking to improve how much we, you know, outwardly support these community efforts. For instance, we gave your tournament some tweets and some extra exposure as well as title screen exposure. We have these social outlets, which I don't think like everyone on the team agrees we don't use them enough.
Right.
And if we have more community content to put on them, then we're likely to use them more. So yeah, I would really recommend that people reach out and let us know about these awesome things before they happen, so we can schedule some announcements.
No, I definitely agree. It was absolutely amazing the amount of value that it added to, for example, being the Osu client. It was absolutely incredible, and I'm sure that if those things are if those things are used more frequently across other things as well, I'm sure that it's a ripple effect and gets more people into Osu as well. And I'm sure it's going to be. I'm really happy to see how open you guys are to being supportive of those efforts. Because again, initially before Anime Expo, I largely felt like that was something not necessarily on your guys' agenda, but to see it be on your guys' agenda and to actually see the fruits of that has been amazing. So I'm really excited for the future in that regard. Let's say there are people that have expertise or skill sets and that do want to help out in any way that they can, be it the more serious things like helping coding or just be it community efforts. How do they generally reach out to the team outside of just emailing you directly?
So we do have a Discord, which is specifically set up for contributions to the game. Currently we have like the laser development channel, the OS Web, so the new website, along with OS Weekly, so our weekly news posts. People help contribute content for those, and the wiki, which has recently moved to GitHub using Markdown, a completely custom system. It's a lot easier for contributions to happen, and we're seeing a huge amount of people helping out with the wiki. It's really making some good progress. So yeah, we have all these areas that that are easy for community members that have the correct skills. For instance, for the wiki, you kind of have to have a good grasp of English, or if you're willing to translate it to your own language, that's also very helpful.
All right. How do you get to the Discord? Is it on the website?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's under Community OSDev, if I recall correctly, but otherwise it's discord.gg/ppy.
Oh, that's simple enough. That's 3 letters. Yeah. I'm sure we have the attention span for that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. No, that was all the talking points that I myself came up with that I thought were very important to address. We got a couple of community questions. We got a total of 6. Again, if you're unaware of the format, generally every episode, which is going to be every 2 weeks, is going to be just a talk about a certain theme, the theme being the one at the top here, with either 1 guest, 2 guests, 3 guests, depending on the topic. And then at the end, we'll do some community questions. Now, the community questions are going to be gathered by looking at the posts under the announcement on the news section of the Osu site. So that's where we got these wonderful questions from. Question number 1 is, what are the current plans surrounding skinning? Be it the current status of the skinning forum promoting user-made skins ahead or instead of solely the default, to easier ways to skin and an increase in skinnable elements, which was asked by Alicia and Hio Charles.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for the questions, guys. So skinning is one of the areas which we haven't yet tackled on Laser. But at the same time, we have designed everything with skinning in mind. So I mentioned that rule sets are kind of modular. You can easily make a game mode. We're planning on allowing the same amount of freedom in skinning. So if you wanted to make a skin which changes, for instance, the way one of the in-game elements animates, you'll actually be able to customize that kind of level of change. So not only as the previous skinning system had, it was just textures and sound effects. Now you'll be able to actually customize behaviors, use vector representations rather than just textures, and have direct access to a lot of the things we use internally to develop the game.
So basically, just be able to change anything that you want is the general idea behind it. Maybe not every single element, but you know, a large amount, especially more than right now.
Definitely.
And also the process of skinning itself. Do you have plans to make that an easier process as well?
Yeah, so if you're not looking to do the crazy amount of customization I just mentioned, we are going to have skinning, like a skinning interface built into the game, where it'll be as simple as dragging and dropping elements to make changes.
Wow.
And like we do have ambitions to make OsDirect a place where you can download skins. And not only download full skins, but mix and match. So you'll be able to choose elements from each skin that you like, and it'll, you know, be kind of a grid system where you can choose a base skin and then have overrides
sounds
from
awesome.
other skins.
So that's like some of the websites that are out there right now that do that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right.
We had a web system developed which did that already, but it never really got deployed, and other people beat us to getting theirs deployed.
Oh.
And I'm still not happy with any of the web representations because it's a lot nicer to have it, you know, integrated into the game.
Sure, because that's a general direction that you guys are going, right? Like have a ton of stuff be more implemented from the website news section, if I remember correctly.
Yes. For instance, we want to make it. I want to make it. You never need to visit the website to get everything out of us that you want. We already have, for instance, user profiles implemented in-game in Laser, and that's using not just a web view, but it's natively implemented, and we're kind of going to push forward with that, making all the common areas of the website available in-game via like native displays.
That's funny. You have this beautiful website that is basically created, and now you're looking for ways to never have to visit that.
Yeah, I guess you can look at it from that perspective, but I mean, we're not going to cut back on the website. It's more like the website is kind of more of a reading view when you're on a mobile device or just looking to, you know, browse the forums, that kind of thing. But when you're in the game, we don't want you to have to alt tab to the web browser to do half of the things the game requires.
Right. Makes perfect sense. Question number 2, will custom modes such as, well, you mentioned before, Tsuhosu or Dodge the Beat ever become something akin to an official game mode? Which was a question by Sharpen.
Yep, so Laser already allows anyone to make a rule set or game mode as we know them. And that's currently a drag and drop of a DLL into the folder to make it run. That said, like, obviously you can't just put the DLL in there and expect there to be online rankings and stuff for it. We haven't addressed this at all because, you know, we haven't even looked at the ranking system yet. But going forward, I do want to have like a area in OsDirect where you can download new game modes for the game, which have been approved by us. You know, we have to do a code check because there could be security vulnerabilities in the other in the rule sets since they're just running native code. Yeah. And the ones that pass will be available for download there, and you know, it'll be a similar process to beatmaps, I guess. There'll be ranked game modes where they're at a standard where we're all happy with how they work, and they'll just get leaderboards.
So it's kind of like an app store for game modes in a sense. Right. Yep. But not necessarily, well, or at least you're not entirely sure yet what that means in terms of rankings, which makes perfect sense. But yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I'll play that by you.
Yeah. All right. Are there any plans for a feature such as showing score rank on the profile instead of PP, or Kudosu if you're focused on mapping, which was asked by Potato Jet?
Okay. So I don't think we're going to allow people to change the ranking displayed on their profile. But that said, if you visit your profile on the new site, which you can do by going to new.ppy.sh, you are already able to change the order of the sections that are displayed in your profile. So if you're a mapper, for instance, you can move your beatmap section above everything else and move your ranking, your top ranks, and you know, things that you don't
to the bottom because you never want it to be seen.
Yeah, exactly. So we're kind of thinking of continuing in that direction. I think like the main header on the profile is still going to display your rank,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I think it needs to be prominent and in a place people can find. But yeah, we're looking for ways to give mappers and people that aren't playing just for their rank ways to customize the look of their profile.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 4. Why can I only change my name through PayPal, which is by Ackles?
Okay. The technical reason for that, I guess, is that the X Solar contract I have, which is the one that allows payments through everything that isn't PayPal, doesn't allow for physical goods to be sold. And the store currently has a lot of physical goods. So we just haven't implemented that payment method. That said, we currently have someone on the web team working on getting Xsolar support in there. So it'll obviously only work for things like name changes and supporter tag purchases, but you can expect that coming in the next few weeks. I think it's very close to being done. We're just in the
okay.
testing phase.
All right. All right. Question number 5. Given how things are today, what are things that you would have wanted to tell yourself, say, 5 years ago during development by Sino?
Yeah, I have a lot of things I would like to tell myself, but most are just basically like stop writing shit code. I think as a developer, you always look back at your old code and think it's crap. If you're not constantly disagreeing with your previous self, then you're not really improving as a developer.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that just the thing that's largely based around laziness back in the day, or just not knowing a better way to do it?
It's not laziness. It's the fact that I was always pushing to get stuff done in the quickest way to implement.
Okay.
I wanted to get the features out in the game as fast as possible, and I'm sure if you remember back to the earlier years, how well that worked. Like I was able to push out new features within a day or a few days for really large features, but yeah, over time that doesn't work, and I've learned that over the years.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, and last question, number 6. What's your views on player retention? Are you currently happy with the rate of people that download the game and stick around? Are there any plans to improve in the area? Which was by Moonlit.
Okay, player retention. So, yeah, over the last couple of years, we haven't really been seeing a huge increase in the unique, I guess, concurrent users, the number of users in a month. That said, I don't really care. I'm just looking to make us the best game it can be, and I think retention kind of just happens. Like if we start losing retention, it just means we're not doing a good enough job at making the product or the game as good as dynamic, keeping people's attention as it can be.
Right.
So my thoughts on retention is just to keep focusing on making stuff as good as it can be, and yeah, it'll just happen. I mean, right. I've never outwardly advertised the game, and look at how many people are here today.
At least 12. It's been a crazy ride.
Yeah.
All right. No, that was the last community question. Do you yourself maybe have any other closing thoughts or anything that you feel like was missed? I feel like we were pretty all-encompassing.
No, I think we made some good coverage today. Definitely.
All right, cool. Well, again, it is currently 9 in the morning for you. We're making progress on the day. Thank you so much for, again, guys, when I asked Peppy for a schedule, he was like, just make whatever makes most sense. I will make sure I'll be there. But I obviously wanted Mr. Peppy to at least be able to keep the eyes open, so this is what we ended up with.
I'll go have a nap after this, I think.
All right, well, thank you again for joining us.
Yep, thanks a lot for hosting this. I think it's definitely going to give people a new perspective on things, and hopefully people have enjoyed themselves here, and we'll ask some questions for the next round.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you guys a short little overview, but for now, thank you, Peppy, for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful
Thanks
map,
a lot.
and I'm sure we'll see you around. All right, guys, let's get a little bit more music. There we go. Thank you for joining us on the first installment of Coffee Hour. it seems like we need a little moment to figure out chat moderation for the next one, but that'll be figured out. No worries. So again, thank you so much for Peppy for being here on the first hour. It's been, from a community perspective, I can honestly say the Osu team is extremely open and willing to work together, and that's been an extremely awesome experience. I hope you guys learned something, heard something new. In 2 weeks we'll have another episode. We should have the announcement for that out in, it is currently Friday, let's say a little over a week, and then you can post any questions related to that week's theme to said post. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to read up on the format, !coffee hour, if I'm not mistaken, in chat, and you can read up there, or just check the news section on the Osu site, and you can read up there. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I'm gonna play a little bit of outro, a little bit of music. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time.